Good evening, everyone. So, who all have come in time? Six, last lecture of the batch six. Yes, last lecture for the subject audit. Done through this journey. I've got only Josh, then Inesh, and Jyoti's message in the query link. Alok is there. Okay. How's the weather over there, Alok? पिछली बार बहुत ठंड थी, अब बढ़ ही रही है, कम नहीं हो रही. Okay. Mr. Parthasarathy, Mr. Vora, Manoj Kumar Thakur. We have very few who join in time, और लिखने वाले लोग इतने हैं बस. खुशहाल, मितेश भाई जी, वोरा साहब जी, आज लास्ट लेक्चर है. आयुष झा. आयुष, where were you in the last lecture? Couldn't find you over there. Were you there in the last lecture? Ayush Jha. So can you please explain how to learn this chapter facing a little difficulty? Okay. 7 degrees, Alok. Oh, it's well fine. Okay. Kushal, this chapter actually you have to divide it into various parts. Like the topics we covered in the last session, they are somewhat, one, you can say just one question topics. Auditing, audit program or audit steps while auditing those entities. So multiple questions would be asked from the topics we are going to cover today. ठीक है. सो वो टॉपिक्स जो हैं वो आप या तो इसको एक शेड्यूल बना सकते हैं जिसमें एक हैवी टॉपिक साथ में 2 या 3 छोटे टॉपिक, एक हैवी टॉपिक साथ में 2 या 3 छोटे टॉपिक. वॉट एवर यू वॉन्ट टू लर्न इन ऑडिट, if you can follow a sequence, then that is very good. Like in the basic chapters of 1 to 4, you have to follow proper sequence. You cannot jumble up the topics. But afterwards, in every chapter, you can always make small combinations, something like one heavy topic, two smaller topics. You have to prepare them in installments, not the whole chapter in one go, or an illogical sequence. Okay. For the entities like hotel, cinema hall, club, educational institution, charitable institution, just take real life examples in mind. When you are reading about educational institution, just think of your school time. Relate what has been, what are you reading in the steps of auditing. Just relate to real life situations in a hospital or a cinema hall, the hotel. Like, you have to be really specific. If asked what points, for example, there could be a question with respect to how would you check the student fee collections in the case of an audit of an educational institution. So we did all the steps, we read all the steps: miscellaneous income, educational receipts, expenditure, fixed assets, investments. So you know the minor questions could be asked from the steps within, or a major question like what steps would you follow in the auditing of an educational institution. That chances are rare. So you have to be very specific. You need not just jumble them up, right? तुम चैरिटेबल का एजुकेशनल में लिख रहे हो और एजुकेशनल का उठा के होटल में, ऐसी चीजें नहीं होनी चाहिए. कॉमन पॉइंट्स आर देयर, कॉमन पॉइंट्स की तुम हेल्प ले सकते हो, ग्राउंड बना सकते हो, बट यू हैव टू बी वेरी स्पेसिफिक. इफ इट इज अ 4 marks question, the examiner wants you to write specific answers with respect to an educational institution only, which he'll not be able to find in the case of other audits. Okay. So you have to be really specific. Josh. Okay, Jesh, that's so sweet of you. Okay, chaliye. So, anything else which you want me to take up? We'll start at 6:05. I hope, Kushal, I'm clear. Okay, sir. Right. So, just let me know if you have any queries from the last session or anything. I'll be happy to take that up. Otherwise, we'll move further with this chapter. So, okay, give me a sec. Right. Okay, so we finished with, so we have to start with cooperative societies. Hmm. She, so I'll be taking up the important parts, right? So whatever is their literal meanings or somewhat just basic introduction or just literal interpretations, you can do it on your own. Fine. Cooperative societies. The word cooperation itself means association बनाकर इकट्ठे होकर to cooperate. Co means इकट्ठे, operate means together. काम करना, right? So cooperative societies. What are societies? Basically, persons associate together to do some work. It's not about housing societies or something. It is a general principle which is related to business. So cooperative societies, as you can see on your screen. Yeah. The meaning of cooperation, we all know, association of person, and autonomous. What is meant by autonomous? We'll discuss the basic principles. What is meant by autonomous? Yes, please. Okay. Yes, yes. Independent. Someone says independent, working on their own, good Ayush. They're not governed by anything. No, laws are there, but they can form their own management or they're working, their daily to daily affairs, day to day operating, everything they can decide mutually. So we have this word over here, mutual assistance and service are the objectives. Even if they want to indulge in trade, they can, but the basic objective is to assist each other, to provide services to each other. You remember the members of a club, they would get services at an extra discount or something, which they could use the property of the club. In the same way, cooperative societies, they pool their resources. They pool their resources to do something productive. Okay. They are governed by the Cooperative Societies Act of 1912. So, see, please, 110 years. This act has not been, you will say, repealed like the Companies Act 1956 was repealed and Companies Act 2013 took its place. So 1912, you will find many provisions which would relate to 1912. For example, there is a provision where there is mention of 100 rupees. That is a limit, monetary limit. So 100 rupees in 1912 meant a lot, meant a lot. Today it carries very quite insignificant value, but at that time it meant a lot. So please make sure that somewhere you might find something outdated as it is there in law. You'll have to read, but that belongs to 1912. Since then there have not been such major amendments or something. So please bear with it, right? So cooperative societies have to follow Central Act, but in some states they have their own cooperative acts. For example, Maharashtra, West Bengal, Odisha, right? They are governed by their specific state act. So states have also passed their own cooperative. So the Cooperative Societies Act of 1912 is the father, the grandfather. And further, all the states have their own acts as well, where the societies registered with them have to follow that particular law. Okay. So auditor has to be very much versed with the knowledge of cooperative societies, the laws governing it, to carry out his audit effectively. The last point, please. The last point, be with me. The capital of a cooperative society is raised from its members in the form of share capital. So like a company, there is share capital. Okay. As the share capital is not sufficient to meet its operational cost, it borrows loan from the government or apex cooperative organization. It could be a layered cooperative organization, like multiple layers. There could be branches, various other offices. So it might need to borrow money from them. In a cooperative society, each member is given one vote. So voting is on the basis of membership, irrespective of the number of shares held by him, and not on the basis of number of shares held, like in the case of companies. In this organization, nobody can control society based on his share capital. So this point was important. Differentiate it from the company and share capital. Okay. Fine. Audit of a cooperative society, section 17. So registrar is the authority who can get the accounts audited, can cause the accounts of the cooperative societies audited at least once a year. So once at least every year. Annual affair. So what would they examine? They examine any overdue debts, valuation of assets and liabilities of the society. So the cooperative societies might be giving lending money to the members. There might be some overdue debts where interest is not being paid. Debts have become due for repayment, but they are not being repaid by the members. Something like this. So registrar here we have for the companies and the LLPs, registrar of companies ROC. In the case of firms, partnership firms, we have registrar of firms. In the case of cooperative societies, we have registrar of cooperative societies, and we'll find this post in your local or your jurisdictional district office center, district and district offices. So registrar of cooperative societies is a different person. The registrar, the collector, or any person, the collector, some pre-independence terms. It's fine, Sushil, it's completely fine. So they themselves or the auditors they appoint have access to all the books, accounts, papers, and securities of a society. Every officer shall furnish such information as required by them of the society, right? So here is registrar means a person appointed to perform the duties of a registrar of cooperative societies under this act. Chartered accountant can provide services apart from audit, guidance in accounts writing, installation of accounting system, internal audit, management accounting services, taxation. You have read these terms. So points to be kept in mind. You'll have to refer StudyMat for this. It's quite clear over here. I'll take up only few of them points, which I feel we need to discuss. Qualification of auditors, quite simple. It's written there. If you read, you can understand on your own. Appointment of auditor. These are the points which we have covered in the Companies Act. So just the provision is different. The person might be different, but the underlying substance is the same. So you may read this on your own. Books, accounts, and other records, restrictions on shareholdings, restrictions on loan, shares are non-transferable. In the case of companies, they are tradable on exchange. Listed share, unlisted shares can also be transferred, like by way of share transfer forms or sale. But in the case of cooperative societies, shares are non-transferable. Restrictions on borrowings, like how much they can borrow, what can you can say grounds they can borrow, if they want to advance loans, what are the restrictions on that, where do they need to invest their funds, because societies, all the members pool their funds. So they have come up with a list that these are the 4 to 5 avenues where the cooperative societies should and must invest their surplus funds. Okay. Then if they want to contribute for charitable purpose, what are the provisions towards that? Like in the case of companies, we have reserves in the over here as well. We have reserve fund. So if you have credited any surplus to a reserve fund as required by the law, then where can you invest the money accumulated in this fund outside the business of the cooperative society? Either you can purchase shares, or you can like make a fixed deposit in the bank. So क्या क्या कर सकते हैं आप रिजर्व फंड वाले रुपए का, वो इसमें लिखा हुआ है. आप किसी एजुकेशन फंड में कंट्रीब्यूट करना चाहिए या आपको करना पड़ेगा, मैंडेटरी है, इट इज रिटन ओवर देयर. एंड द लास्ट इज अप्रोप्रिएशन ऑफ प्रॉफिट्स. सो हाउ डू द प्रॉफिट्स गेट अप्रोप्रिएटेड? क्या आप उनको किस किस रिजर्व, किस फंड में, कहाँ उनको प्रोविजंस में क्या बना रहे हैं, उनका क्या ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं, वो सब सेम एवरीथिंग लाइक यू हैव रेड इन अ कंपनी. द अंडरलाइंग ग्राउंड इज द सेम. It's just you have to read that in case of cooperative societies, what is the basic criteria on which these all provisions are applied. These are all provisions are complied with. Yes, only Dinesh. Yes. Now, special features of a cooperative audit. So, what is that? Here it's written reference ready-made. I'll discuss it over here for you. Examination first. The first is examination of overdue debts. So, the cooperative societies usually lend, the money is borrowed by the members. Like what is like in जो इसका you can say unofficial unorganized sector में जो आपका वो collaboration चलता है, जिसको नॉर्थ में कमेटी और I don't know what it is called in other parts of India. So people form a group and they just pick a check, they pool resources, and turn by turn they take up money on loan basis. So the same manner, in a more official, organized, and under the provisions of a law, cooperative societies work where they do lend money to their members. So as an auditor, I'll have to check if there are any overdue debts and if there is any overdue interest, right? No, Mr. Kojima, no such provision over here like this, which you're asking. So examination of overdue debts, it's appointed by the registrar. So as an auditor, I'll have to check how many debts are overdue and is the society properly disclosing them as overdue. Proper classification has been made with respect to such overdue debts. Further, if there are overdue debts, there are high chances there would be overdue interest as well. So overdue interest is not the interest on overdue debt. Overdue interest is the interest which is overdue. It could be the original as well as the interest on overdue debt as well. So there might be some sums, some landings which might have become bad. So we need to, like some cooperative societies or acts want the auditor to give them a certificate that yes, the cooperative societies, sometimes they can give their certificate on their own that yes, this particular amount is a bad debt. We cannot recover it. Some acts in some states require the auditor to give a certificate with respect to these bad debts. The auditor has scrutinized the ledgers and is satisfied with the recovery steps made by the society, and the auditor needs to give a certificate of bad debts to the society. Again, quite simple point. The auditor has to check the valuation of assets and liabilities. If he needs an expert's valuation to be carried out, he may ask or request for the same. Adherence to cooperative principles. What are the cooperative principles? Mutual assistance and service. So the societies, if it is a cooperative society, it is actually adhering to those principles. It is complying with those principles. ऐसा ना हो कोऑपरेटिव प्रिंसिपल्स को साइड पे रखते हुए दरकिनार करते हुए और हर कोई अपना अपना प्रॉफिट मोटिव देख रहा हो कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी में. No benefit of that. Business can be done by anyone else and anyone anywhere else. Cooperative societies want to do business, but their first and foremost priority is cooperation, mutual service among the members of the society. This is how Amul started. And this is how many cooperative milk societies started in India. You know, the self-help groups in the rural areas started by women. You know, many like a lot of Bollywood movies are being made on the genesis of these societies, the self-help groups. So the adherence to cooperative principles should be there, and as an auditor, I'll have to check that. Observations of the provisions of this act and rules, verification of members' register and examination of their passbooks, as we did in the case of a club, same points. Special report to the registrar. So in the case of a company, like you address your report to the shareholders, to the board, as per the objective of the report, right? In the same way, sometimes you'll have to provide address a special report to the registrar. In certain cases, we'll see further. Okay, this is important. Audit classification of the society. So as an auditor, the act says you have to award a class to the society. That's a different criteria of what class. There is a proper criteria over there on the basis of points earned by the society. As per your study and observation, you will award a class to the society. If the society is not satisfied with the award or the rank given by the classification given by the auditor, awarded by the auditor, अगर वो संतुष्ट नहीं है, they can always apply to the registrar for a review. बोल सकते हैं दोबारा रिव्यू किया जाए हमारे पॉइंट्स के ऊपर और हमारी क्लास चेंज की जाए जो ये नहीं बनती जो ऑडिटर ने अवार्ड की है. They can always apply or request the registrar for the same. Auditor has to discuss his report with the managing committee the same way he discusses with the board in the case of a company. Okay. Yes, if it is Mr. Kojima, if it is being demanded from the society's management, it's the same. Otherwise, it is usually the duty is usually cast upon the auditor. Mr. Krishnan, I'll come to that. Cooperative society is a more organized form. Self-help groups are not that organized. They are basically quite remote level groups, self-help groups. Self-help groups, if formed on a large scale, they usually with a period of time, they take the form of cooperative societies on a large scale. Self-help groups are on a small scale, like self-help 4 to 5 people, 10, 12 people, 20, 30, 50 people. They just form a group for helping each other, like pool up their resources. For example, you have to play cricket with your friends, and I would say I have bats. 2 bat मैं लेके आऊंगा. Someone says मैं 2 balls ले आऊंगा. Someone says wicket set cricket set किसी के पास पूरा नहीं है. Okay, wickets का इंतजाम मैं करता हूँ, right? I'll arrange for the refreshment. So it is what? This is cooperation. You want to play cricket, so it is cooperation. You pool your resources, and you go over there, you play, and come back with your resources. But in the case of cooperative societies, you pool up your resources and you work together. And by working together at a smaller scale, you achieve a much larger scale. Okay, let's move ahead. So, normal points, what the auditor has to state. The auditor has obtained all necessary information. The auditor is in opinion best profit and loss give true and fair view. Balance sheet give true and fair view of state of affairs. Whatever information he required was properly being maintained. Balance sheet and profit and loss, the financial statement are agreement with the returns filed, and there is no contradiction. And if he wants to qualify the report, he may. Mr. Thakur, audit class is a category, is a rank which the auditor gives to the society on the basis of criteria as fixed under the law. Right? That is audit class. A class, a rank, a category, like an evaluation, an appraisal category given by the auditor to the cooperative society. Okay, so there is a format in which you have to give your report. The audit report has to be submitted to the registrar, and the audit report sometimes some specific state acts require certain other documents or reportings, extra reportings, additional reportings to be submitted by the auditor. For example, the rules formed under Maharashtra State Cooperative Societies Act required the auditor to make the usual affirmation pertaining to maintenance of books of accounts, true and fair nature of financial statements, that the auditor has to write upon this. Okay, that the books of accounts have been maintained properly. This is something which Maharashtra State Cooperative Societies Act requires specifically. It is a usual, मतलब usually every act, हर एक्ट में लिखा ही होगा, मांगा ही होगा, ये यूजुअल एफर्मेशन है, भी ऑडिटर ही मान के चल रहा है. बट महाराष्ट्र का कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज एक्ट कहता है भी इसको आपको खास में ध्यान रखकर स्पेसिफिकली इसके ऊपर लिखना है. Auditor will attach some schedules. What are those schedules? Any transactions which appear to the appear contrary. Contrary means opposite to the provisions of the act. Rules or bylaws means bylaws of the society means rules and regulations established by the society. All sums which ought to have been but not brought into account by the society means any financial facts which were needed to be incorporated in the books of account have not been incorporated. Any material or property belonging to society which auditor feels is bad or doubtful of recovery. Any material irregularity or impropriety in expenditure. Impropriety in expenditure matlab wasteful expenditure. If the society is carrying out, or the management or any person is carrying out wasteful expenditure under proper authority, then it should be taken care of. Any other matters. So in the case of nil report, with respect to any irregularity, the auditor will have to write nil. He'll have to give a nil report, but he'll have to submit a report. So this is important. Further, in addition to the audit certificate in the prescribed form and various schedules stated above, the auditor of cooperative society in applicable state has to answer 2 sets of questionnaires called as audit memos. First set is a general questionnaire. First set of audit memo or questionnaires of general nature and is applicable to all types of societies, your urban cooperative banks, consumer stores, credit societies, right? The second set is specific. So this is for all cooperative societies, one common set. The second set is specific with respect to the nature of business or the kind of society for a particular type of society. These questionnaires are drafted in detail and serve the practical purpose of audit program. So the first one is general in nature and second one is specific. The audit report in a narrative, like you have to give logics and narrations for your observations, submitted by the auditor addressed to the chairman of the society. So the audit report should be addressed to the chairman of the society. So it is divided into 2 parts, part 1 and part 2, format of the audit report. Part 1 of every report is very important, which throws a light on comparative financial position compared to previous periods, capital structure, solvency position of the society, and the profitability or otherwise of the society. It also contains comments on the working of the society and suggestions by the auditor for future improvement. So it says properly formed, properly written report divided into paragraphs, and any mistakes or irregularities the auditor finds which may impact the profitability of the society should be pointed out, right? Part 2 is with respect to observations of routine nature. Like routine, आपका सिक्योरिटी अरेंजमेंट्स थोड़ा सा ठीक कीजिए, एंड थोड़ी बहुत मिसमैनेजमेंट है फंड्स को मैनेज करने की, आप इन्वेस्टमेंट थोड़ी अपनी रिस्क फ्री एसेट्स में ज्यादा कीजिए, कुछ इस तरह के रूटीन नेचर की, not that much of financial in nature, routine nature ki, something which you want to suggest, right? For example, missing vouchers, loan bonds, inadequacies of documents, and principal like errors in accounting, principal errors, something like this. So part 1 is very important. It has a financial impact. Part 2 is of general nature, something which is non-financial. Miss Harmisha Sevak. No, it's not compulsory. Actually, the registrar in every state gets the accounts audited. If the registrar wants it, it is compulsory for the society. Jyoti, what is nil report? Nil report, like there's a report format, you have to write nil against the questions asked in the report. Whatever the act says that you have to write on this about in the report, any irregularities and all, you give nil, no irregularity. Okay. Now, multi-state cooperative societies. What are multi-state? As the name suggests, the societies, cooperative societies, which have their presence in more than one state, like multinational companies, which have their presence in more than one country. Multi-state cooperative societies are those cooperative societies which have their presence, offices in more than one states. So, which are not confined to one state. So, वो इधर की माने, उधर की माने, किसकी माने, वो माने Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act की. So, this was a special act, the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002. अगस्त 2002 में ये एक्ट लाया गया, एंड इसमें सब पॉइंट्स, रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ द सोसाइटी विद द रजिस्ट्रार, मेंबरशिप, मैनेजमेंट, सब के बारे में प्रोविजंस लाए गए हैं इस एक्ट में, और इन सोसाइटीज को इस एक्ट को मानना होता है, इसके प्रोविजंस कंप्लाई करने होते हैं. तो मल्टी स्टेट कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी एक्ट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट क्या कहते हैं, इन सोसाइटीज को बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट में क्या क्या डिटेल्स रखनी पड़ेगी, ऑल सम्स ऑफ मनी रिसीव्ड एंड एक्सपेंडेड, all revenue and capital expenditure, income, basically profit and loss type items, all sales and purchase of good trading account, all assets and liabilities balance sheet. If the society is engaged in production, processing and manufacturing, for example, milk, further processing the milk into various varieties or different dairy products, then books relating to utilization of material or labor or other relevant items need also to be maintained. Costing, basically. Costing related books. Moving further, special audit. So now, this was something which was general with respect to multi-state cooperative societies. Now we are coming to 3 special sections with respect to a multi-state cooperative society. Audit of a multi-state cooperative society. This can be read from the study mat. Powers and duties, contents of auditor's report, power of central government to direct special audit. Now, when can central government ask for a special audit, apart from the normal audit which we are studying, a special audit of a multi-state cooperative society? If it comes to know its knowledge that affairs are not being managed in accordance with prudent commercial practices. Prudent commercial practices means rationally, समझदारी से बिजनेस जो है वो समझदारी से मैनेज किया जा रहा है एज पर नॉर्मल ट्रेड नॉलेज, एज पर नॉर्मल ट्रेड पार्लेंस. मैनेज बिजनेस इस तरह से मैनेज किया जा रहा है एज इट वुड कॉज इंजरी टू द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ ट्रेड और इंडस्ट्री और बिजनेस. कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी, अमूल दूध फ्री में बांटना स्टार्ट कर दी, कंपटीशन इफेक्ट हो जाएगा डेयरी मार्केट को. सो उसको इस तरीके से मैनेज किया जा रहा है दैट वो ट्रेड या इंडस्ट्री के बिजनेस को हैम्पर कर सकता है. उसकी फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन ऐसी हो चुकी है दैट वो कभी भी बैंकरप्ट जा सकता है. तो उसको ऑडिट करवा के टाइमली प्रिकॉशंस लिए जाए, टाइमली स्टेप्स लिए जाए. Yes, Mr. Krishnan, you can write answers in your own words. Just make sure that the important technical and professional jargon, the words, they are followed. Right? Your words means the connectors, the English, the language you can use on your own. But the points, the headings, and the audit specific words should be written properly. Now, Section 77 of this Act asks for lays provisions for the special audit of a multi-state cooperative society. So special audit can be conducted by the order of central government only, right? For one period or more than one period. Central government shall order for such audit only if the central government, like, or the respective state government, either by itself or both, या तो एक या दोनों मिलके या कोई भी एक या दोनों मिलके hold more than 50% of the paid up share capital. That means control is in their hands. Only then they need to control the society. Appointment of auditor. It may either appoint a chartered accountant or the multi-state cooperative society's auditor himself to conduct the special audit. Right? The society may appoint an auditor other than a chartered accountant if it falls under the eligibility. Who can be appointed as the auditor of a cooperative society? So the central government may appoint a chartered accountant, or if under that particular state act or multi-state cooperative societies act, any other person can be appointed as an auditor, which will study in your study mat. Then he or she can be further asked to conduct a special audit as well. The same person can be asked for it, or a different chartered accountant can be appointed by the central government. The special auditor shall have the same powers and duties as any other auditor of a multi-state cooperative society has under Section 73. The Section 73 of this particular act governs the provisions related to the powers and duties of a cooperative society's auditor. Contents of the auditor's report, since the appointment is being made by the central government, so he'll not address his report to the members of the society, but to the central government only. Right? On the basis of the report received by the central government, the central government may take such action on the report as it considers necessary. Agar central government within 4 months from the date of receipt of report, 4 महीने के अंदर अंदर जब उनको रिपोर्ट मिली ऑडिटर की तरफ से, राइट, कोई एक्शन नहीं लेती है, कुछ भी नहीं करती हैं, the government shall send to multi-state cooperative society either a copy or relevant extracts from the report with its comments thereon. So सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो डिपार्टमेंट है वो क्या करेगा, पूरी की पूरी रिपोर्ट या उसमें से जो भी रिक्वायर्ड पोर्शन होगा उसके एक्सट्रैक्ट्स बना के कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी को भेज जाएंगे और उन्हें बोला जाएगा भी ये आप अपने मेंबर्स में सर्कुलेट कीजिए, या आपकी जो मीटिंग होगी उस अपनी नेक्स्ट मीटिंग में इसे यू हैव टू रीड इट लाउड. राइट, read it, place it before the members in the next general meeting and get it read loud. Right? तो या तो आप उन्हें सर्कुलेट कर दीजिए एक्सट्रैक्ट्स या पूरी रिपोर्ट जो हमने आपको भेजी है, या अपनी नेक्स्ट मीटिंग में इसे पढ़ दीजिए. ठीक है. अगर 4 महीने के अंदर सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट कोई एक्शन ले लेती है तब तो सबको पता लग ही जाएगा. अगर 4 महीने का टाइम है सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के पास, अगर उन्होंने कोई एक्शन नहीं लिया, इफ दे हैवंट टेकन एनी एक्शन, so they may require, they'll send this report or extracts from this report to the multi-state cooperative societies managing body, and they'll require them to send further these extracts or report to the members or get it read in the next general meeting. Expenses of conducting special audit, the fees and all is decided by the central government. What expenses are to be reimbursed to the auditor, what fees would be given to him, but paid by the multi-state cooperative society only. The central government directs the society that आपको इतना बिल ऑडिटर का आया है, आपको ये पे करना है. Okay? Now, after section 77, section 78 of the Act, inquiry by the central registrar. See, central registrar comes under the central government since it is a multi-state cooperative society. So registrar which falls under the central government, not restricted to one state. So he might take some actions. He wants to get an inquiry done. Inquiry with respect to something. It could be a transaction, it could be a business, it could be the management. So the central registrar, when means कब inquiry करवा सकता है वो? On a request from a federal cooperative to which a multi-state cooperative society is affiliated. A federal cooperative means a cooperative society or a group जिससे ये multi-state cooperative society जुड़ा हुआ है. Or a creditor, not less, or a creditor, एक single creditor भी society का. Or not less than 1/3 of the members of the board. Not less than 1/3 of the members of the board of the cooperative society, governing board, like board of directors in the case of a company. Here it is the governing board of the society. Not less than 1/3 means at least 1/3 members of the board want the central registrar to conduct an inquiry. Not less than 1/5 of the total number of members. Now, it's not about the board, but it's about the total number of members of the society. So either the federal cooperative or any creditor or at least 1/3 of the members of the board or at least 1/5 of the members, total number of members of the society, इन चार में से किसी की भी एक की तरफ से अगर रिक्वेस्ट चली जाती है इंक्वायरी के लिए तो सेंट्रल रजिस्ट्रार इंक्वायरी बिठा देगा. सो कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी के ऊपर. ओके, वो अपनी तरफ से इंक्वायरी करने के लिए पर्सन अपॉइंट करेंगे. वर्किंग और फाइनेंशियल कंडीशन ऑफ द सोसाइटी. सोसाइटी को एक मौका दिया जाएगा उनकी बात रखने का, अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ बीइंग हर्ड. 15 दिन पहले नोटिस दिया जाएगा, 15 दिन का नोटिस. इस इंक्वायरी को जो पर्सन्स एलिजिबल हैं जिन्होंने रिक्वेस्ट की है, अगर सेंट्रल रजिस्ट्रार बिठाता है तो इंक्वायरी करने के 15 दिन पहले 15 दिन का नोटिस देगा सोसाइटी को भी. आप अगर अपनी कुछ बात रखना चाहते हैं तो रख सकते हैं हमारे सामने. पावर्स क्या दी जाएंगी? जिस भी पर्सन को ऑथराइज किया जाएगा इंक्वायरी करने के लिए, द ऑथराइज्ड पर्सन बाय द सेंट्रल रजिस्ट्रार शैल हैव फॉलोइंग पावर्स. फ्री एक्सेस टू रीजनेबल टाइम्स, एट रीजनेबल टाइम्स. ये नहीं रात के 12 बजे आप जाके बोले जी किताबें दिखाओ. एट रीजनेबल टाइम्स विच कैन बी जस्टिफाइड. Free access to the books, accounts, documents, securities, normal point, which is in the custody of the society. And that person may summon means to call in his office, any person in possession or responsible for the custody of such books. Society guys, this person is maintaining our accounts and we have hired a private person. So that private person can also be summoned up. Right? And he may, that particular person, notwithstanding any bylaw of the society. Society कहती है जी Saturday meeting नहीं होगी. This person who is going to conduct inquiry on behalf of central registrar, he says, notwithstanding any bylaw of your society. आपकी सोसाइटी कहती है सैटरडे मीटिंग नहीं होगी, मैं सैटरडे मीटिंग रख रहा हूं, एंड आई वांट यू टू circulate a notice of general meeting. I am empowered to call a general meeting. 7 दिन का कम से कम उसे नोटिस देना पड़ेगा, एटलीस्ट 7 days. अगर सोसाइटी कहती है भी हमारा 15 days का नोटिस चलता है, he will say notwithstanding any bylaw regarding the period. Okay, if I want minimum 7 days का नोटिस वो दे सकता है सोसाइटी को, और सोसाइटी को वो मीटिंग रखनी पड़ेगी एट द headquarters of the society with on certain matters which he wants to discuss. If the officers of the society fail to call such meeting, he shall have the power to call it himself. वो खुद circulate कर देगा notice या करवा देगा. He may summon any person, कोई भी इंसान उसे लगता है जैसे सोसाइटी की वर्किंग के रिगार्डिंग मैं उसको विटनेस बना सकता हूँ या मेरे को उससे इंफॉर्मेशन मिल सकती है regarding the operations and affairs of the society. So he may summon him at any place, appear before him at any place at the headquarters of the society or any branch thereof, and he may examine such person on oath. Further, he'll have these powers, right? I suppose you are going too much deeper into the questions, just comparing it with the companies. Like, if the annual meeting falls between 4 months' time, then it will be discussed at meeting. This is not relevant at this point of time. You know, they just want to look into broader aspects. जिन चीजों का आपको माइन्यूट और इन डिटेल एस्पेक्ट्स में जाना था, दैट इज द कंपनीज एक्ट. उसका आपको ये सब पता होना चाहिए, एनुअल जनरल मीटिंग एंड ऑल दैट स्टफ. यहाँ पे आपको इतना डिटेल में नहीं वो पूछ रहे हैं, आपको सिर्फ मेजर पॉइंट्स बताए जा रहे हैं जो आपको करने हैं. सो डोंट डेल्व सो मच डीप. ऑलरेडी बहुत सिलेबस है आपका करने के लिए. डोंट डेल्व सो डीप because you'll be covering, if there is anything left which you feel like this should also be known, you still have CA final stage with you. Why to delve so deeper? उतना ही आपका बोझ बढ़ेगा. तो जितना आपके सिलेबस में है उतना एंजॉय कीजिए, उसे ध्यान में रखिए. थोड़ा और एडवांस जो होगा वो सी फाइनल में पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है. So this particular person within submit a report to the central registrar, and further now central registrar within a period of 3 months from the date of receipt of such report communicate this report of inquiry to the multi-state cooperative society and the financial institutions, maybe the lenders, the banks, or any NBFCs to which the society is affiliated. They might be maintaining their accounts, bank accounts with them, or they might have been financed by those financial institutions, or any other person or authority at whose instance such inquiry was needed. Okay, fine. Mr. Sharan Krishnan, any other person means any other person other than a chartered accountant. Now we've done special audit conducted by central government, inquiry conducted by central registrar. Now comes inspection. So when can inspection by the central registrar be conducted, or he can get it carried out, the inspection? Same people, same provision. How? By an order in writing and authorizing a person on his behalf. 15 days notice, again, opportunity of being heard to the cooperative society. Inquiry is a bit, broader term. Inspection means something which the society, the applicant or the registrar feels that this particular matter needs to be inspected, at least just checked on. Inquiry is quite a broader and a heavier term. Inspection is a lighter term, just needs to be inspected. At least a review should be carried out. Okay. So the inspector, as appointed by the central registrar, same powers, access to all books, accounts, securities, and can summon any officer or member of the society with respect to information as required. And the inspection report should be communicated to the multi-state cooperative society within a period of 3 months from the date of completion of such inspection. In the previous case, within a period of 3 months, the central registrar has to, right, communicate the report of inquiry report to the multi-state cooperative society. Here, the inspection report, the central registrar has to communicate the same to the cooperative society. Almost all provisions are similar. Where is the difference? The difference is over here. Read with me. He shall have at all times access to all books, accounts, papers, vouchers, securities, stock, and other property of the society, and in the event of serial irregularities discovered during inspection, can take them into custody and can verify the cash balance of the society, subject to general or special order of the central registrar. He may call a meeting of the society, right, wherever he feels necessary. So inspection is a bit lighter process. Inquiry is something which is more aggrieved, right? So sometimes if felt that the matter is not that serious, the central registrar may call for inspection. But if it's found to be serious, then inquiry. And if central government is involved, a special audit can be conducted by the central government. Three parts: special audit, inquiry, and inspection. Inquiry and inspection, almost provisions are similar, to be conducted or get conducted by the central registrar, and the special audit is done on the orders of central government. Mr. Sharan Krishnan, you'll have to read those points from the study mat, as I have told you earlier. You'll get to know and understand that it is a matter of cooperative societies, and those cooperative societies have this provision in their acts where some state cooperative societies have this provision where they can appoint other person as well. Okay, fine. Done. We are done with the cooperative societies. I'm sorry, Mr. Shivlani. Hello. Can't prevent it. It is what is. Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, local bodies. We all are well versed with the knowledge of this concept. Municipal councils, municipal corporations, town area committees, cant areas, cantonment areas. These are all local bodies. What is basically a local body? Local self-government. This is the lowest level, gram panchayats and all. The local, it's basically the lowest in the hierarchy, right? You have towns, districts, state level, national level. You might have participated in competitions which would follow the same hierarchy. Okay, so what is administered under local bodies? A village or a town or a city, and basically the sources of their income is local taxation, water and sewerage, or some taxes, land revenues. Basically, local bodies in India are of 5 types. Here we have this in point number C. You can all see the municipal corporations, urban local authorities. Basically, we are not going to gram panchayats and rural areas. We are talking about the urban areas. The municipal corporations, the municipal councils, the notified area committees, the town area committees, and the cantonment committees. So, which one is yours? Tell me the place you belong to and which one is yours. Is it a municipal corporation or a council, town area committee, notified area committee, or a cantonment committee? Come on. Do you people at least know what local body is administering your area? Agreed. Agreed, Alok. Agreed. The hot topic in the past and during the start of the December, huh? Delhi NCR. Jyoti, right. Ahmedabad, right. Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, some quite large municipal corporations, BMC. So this is in the hierarchy of their strength as well. Okay, so what are their sources? Property taxes, octroi. Okay, there are some other sources, professional tax, vehicles tax, non taxes on advertisements. Like you have these hoardings in the city on various important junctions in the city, right? So all the revenue goes to the municipal corporation. Municipal authorities are endowed with special local functions, regulatory, maintenance, and development activities. Maintenance of roads, right? The roads in the area, some buildings, developmental activities, developing your parks, beautification of the city. Regulatory is regulating the laws in your areas. What is basically the functions at a local level of any government body? Regulatory functions, maintenance functions, and developmental activities. Pranav, abhi aaya. It's like when you mention town area and then you are asking me this question. So, yes, मेरे पास अभी आया आपका. ये दो आए हैं बस queries आपकी query link में. So where do they expend? Where do the local bodies expend? They expend on general administration and revenue collection, public health, district hospitals, public safety, education, district schools, public works, the sewerage and water works, and others such as interest payments, etc., on the loans they take from financial institutions or from government bodies higher in hierarchy to them. So local bodies receive grants from other governmental organizations or from charitable institutions or NGOs. So basically, what are the grants they receive? General purpose grant for day-to-day affairs to bridge the gap between the needs and resources of the local bodies. They have collected 1 crore rupees, but they require 1.25 crore or 1.50 crore rupees for their area. So general purpose grants to bridge that gap, the deficit. Specific purpose grants which are tied to the provision of certain service or a performance of certain tasks. For example, somebody, an eminent personality from the city, gives 50 lakhs rupees or 20 lakh rupees to the local body, municipal corporation or council for getting constructed a sports room or a computer lab or a science lab in the district government school. So they cannot use that amount for constructing a road or any other infrastructure activity. They'll have to use for that specific purpose only. That is specific purpose grant. Statutory and compensatory grants, the grants which are given to local bodies by the governments in hierarchy above to them, state government or central government, as a compensation on account of loss of any revenue or taking over a tax by the state government from local government. For example, GST. GST was taken over by the central government from the state government. In the same way, any tax which is taken up by the state government from the local government, now the tax would be collected by the state government. So in that case, they give some compensation to the local bodies. Like you might have read about a GST Compensation Act, where for 5 years the central government said that we are taking up most of your taxes and will compensate to you for the 5 years. You might have read about it. This is kind of a statutory and compensatory grant. So for auditing the books, auditing the working of a local body, right, we usually have to understand how is it administered financially, role of finance, what are the sources, what is the expenditure, and what is the working involved. So these three basic points: budgetary procedure, expenditure control, and accounting system, which we need to study with respect to local bodies. So first we take up budgetary procedure. In budgetary procedure, the main objective with this function, the main objective is to ensure that funds are raised and monies are spent by the executive departments in accordance with the rules and regulations and within the limits of sanction and authorization by the council member. So funds are being raised properly, right? Funds are being raised properly. Money is spent as per the budget under proper authority and sanction in the council meeting. So if 10 lakhs were sanctioned for the construction of a road, the main road in the city, or for beautification of a park, the main park of the city, if we feel that more funds are required, so that should be properly put forward in the meeting, that agenda, and with proper regulatory sanction and authority, more funds can be taken up from the common pool of the council, whatever be the procedure. But we'll have to keep a check on it, and even the auditor needs to review this, whether the process is being followed properly or not, or wasteful expenditure is being carried out. So the local bodies will have to prepare their budgets that they'll be collecting this much money from different types of taxes, and further they will have to fix ceilings on the expenditure. Like for health purposes, like budget, in annual budget the central government does, in the same way local bodies will have to do this. They'll have to keep a ceiling on their expenditure. In the health sector will be using this much of amount, in the infrastructure sector, public work sector, whatever they have to, for donations to various schools and hospitals in the area. So they'll have to fix ceilings, rates for every kind of work. So budget formats and heads vary from state to state, right? There is no strict separation between the revenue and capital items. So only one head is maintained. A different head by the name of extraordinary items is maintained. Usually all the capital transactions, almost all the capital transactions are put into this extraordinary items head. They don't maintain something different of the capital expenditure and revenue expenditure, capital income and revenue income. They don't maintain separate capital or revenue heads. usually maintain one head and a different head by the name of extraordinary items. A number of special funds, example, roads, for construction of roads, for education, for water supply and sanitation. So there are a number of funds, they are being used for the same purpose and they are being shown separately in the books of the society. Expenditure control, obviously the auditor will have to check there is a system of financial control, right? In the central and the state level, there is a clear demarcation between the legislature and executive. So the laws are made in the parliament, but executed by the central government. The laws in the case of a state are made in the legislative assembly for the state and executed by the state government. In this case, in the case of local bodies, right, if any law needs to be made at the local level, made by them and executed by them. There is no demarcation between law-making body and law implementing body. So it's quite difficult, right? It's quite difficult at this level to function properly because law-making and implementing body are the same. So there could be some governance issues, but that is why auditor has to check the expenditure thoroughly and submit its report to either to the state government or the local body as the case may demand. Okay, see this point. Moreover, the separation of executive powers and functions in municipal government cannot accommodate the existence of an independent finance officer responsible to the municipal council or its executive committee. So this is something which is inherent, that if these functions are separated, it will lead to more confusion. Right? There could not be an independent finance officer. And that is why if there is no clear demarcation, the state government appoints external auditor to keep a check on wasteful expenditure and review of the expenditure made by the municipal council, corporation, whatever the case be. Because basically the funds are given to the municipal commissioner, the MCs of your area. So the MCs of your area, they are sanctioned to them to carry out developmental works, regulatory works, maintenance works in their area. That is why if there is any problem, you don't approach the central government directly, don't write a mail to the government or the state government. You first approach the municipal commissioner of your area. This is a problem we are finding at the local level. For a road which is not in a good shape in front of your house or office, you don't approach the prime minister. You know, in the times of Twitter, usually people are doing this only, but you approach your municipal commissioner. The local bodies carry cash system of accounting, follow. So you understand the difference between cash system, accrual and hybrid. In India, we either follow cash or accrual system. So this was an exam question. What is the objective of audit of local bodies? Quite simple. Reporting on the fairness of the content and presentation of financial statements, strengths and weaknesses of the systems of financial control, whether the local bodies are adhering to the legal or administrative requirements, what is expected from them, full value is being received on the money spent. If they have constructed a road with just one season's rain, the road's condition is pathetic. The auditor will have to mention this in his report. So much funds were spent on the construction of this road and see the result. And detection, prevention of error, fraud, and misuse of resources. You have been doing this throughout the audit. So, audit program for local bodies, quite simple, appointment of auditor. So, usually the auditors are appointed by the state governments. But in some municipal corporations like Delhi, Mumbai, they have the power to appoint their own auditors. Auditor areas, as done in the objective of local bodies, the auditor should check whether all the rules and regulations as laid down in the bylaws of the council and as per the provisions of law applicable are being followed. The most important point is authorizations, that all the expenditure is being properly regularized, sanctioned, either special or generally by the competent authority. Provisions for specific expenses are being made properly, periodic basis for towards various funds, and the budgets as set up by the local bodies are being met with. The auditor should check that the different schemes, programs, and projects where large financial expenditure has been incurred are running economically and getting the expected results. For example, Aapki Rasoi will get food in 10 rupees. Scheme for the girl child. So whatever schemes, programs as being led by the central or the state government to be executed by the local bodies, they are being controlled and they are being run economically, and expected results are getting, we are getting expected results. There should not be any corruption or wasteful expenditure, or the scheme has been, the particular facility has been closed off paper, but is still running on paper, a matter of corruption, which the auditor, external auditor has to check, review, and write in his audit report. Alok, that means qualification by the auditor. Quite, you find it like a line written by the Shakespeare play, huh? Alok, that means a qualification by the auditor in general. Okay, okay. So these were the two topics, the local bodies and cooperative societies. Now we'll shift to one heavier topic, so it's cooperative societies, and a lighter topic, local bodies. We are done with this. Now two topics left. One is the heavier topic, that is the government audit, but it is quite interesting, and you will read it again in your CA finals as well. Then the last one is the audit of non-governmental organizations. That is also an interesting topic and a shorter one. So we'll be finishing up with this chapter, I think, almost in another an hour. So should we take a break? Just let me know if you want to take a break. We can. It's quite of a theoretical chapter today, but okay. So it's almost near to 7:15. Let's get back by 7:30. Okay. Okay, short one. Done, done. We can take a break for 10 minutes only. Let's be back by 7:25. Because I can see people over here have questions other than some general questions other than chapter 13 as well. So we'll try to take up those questions as well if we finish in time. So let's take a break for 10 minutes. Be here by 7:25. Fine, fine. We'll take NGO topic first. Done. We'll take NGO topic first after break. That is a 10 minutes topic. So let's be back by 7:25 and we'll take up NGO topic first, a 10 to 15 minutes topic, and then we'll finish with the government audit, a bigger and heavier topic. Great. Okay, break for 10 minutes. Okay, everyone. So, non-governmental organizations. So, before even starting the topic, we have a question. What is the difference between NGO and charitable institution? Yeah, charitable institutions usually work in the field of social welfare, like for the upliftment of the poor, for providing amenities, and like, they usually register. They receive charity. You know, NGOs are basically somewhat who work in the social, platform. They might be raising some awareness or for the, you can say, recreational purposes as well. NGOs have a wider work area as decided by them. So, what are basically NGOs? Non-profit making organizations. They don't do business. Charitable organizations might do business. That is why they require exemption under the Income Tax Act. They might be earning income from rent, like as I told you, for religious functions, they rent out their land or their rooms or their, whatsoever fixed assets they have. NGOs don't do business. What is the work of the government? Government is not meant for business. It is meant for providing amenities, taking from the public and giving it back to the public. Just the administrative and executive part is with the government. What is in a democracy? For the people, of the people, by the people. Taxing the rich, helping the poor. So charitable institutions might earn income. They have surplus, they might be deficit. So they might have a commercial motive. That is why under the Income Tax Act, the act says if you spend 85% of your income in a year towards your charitable objectives, then your surplus is exempt. And even for the 15%, you'll have to accumulate it and use it for in further years for the same purpose. Okay. So you might form an NGO, your friends might form an NGO, a non-government organization, an association of your friends. You will be working for the, maintenance and towards the, you can say, care of the stray dogs, plantations in your society, raising awareness on various social issues. That is an NGO. So NGOs raise funds from members, donors, or contributors apart from receiving donation of time, energy, and skills. This is the most important. Time, energy, and skills. The member donate their time, energy, their skills. If I'm very good in communication skills, I might go to a nearby school, a charitable school, where the school cannot afford to have a teacher who is very much good in English, who can teach English to those students, or who can just groom them up to in their communication skills. So I can donate my time, energy, and my skills. I can just use them for their upliftment. We could be a group of 4 friends. One would go and teach them how to play cricket. One would go and teach them how to play chess. One would teach them arts and craft. One would teach them these communication skills and all. So we have made an NGO, the super teachers, right? Same way. For achieving their social objectives like imparting education, providing medical facilities, economic assistance to the poor, managing disasters and emergent situations like breakout of COVID-19 pandemic. Many NGOs, a number of NGOs worked a lot in not only in India, in every part of the world during the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. It was declared a pandemic, COVID-19. So they usually include religious organizations, voluntary health and welfare agencies, charitable organizations, as I told you. NGOs have a wider scope: hospitals, old age homes, research foundations. What is the legal status under law? Which law they fall? So they are usually registered as societies or as trust. So it is not required for an NGO to get registered, but if it is formed as a trust and the trust has a property, immovable property means any building or any immovable property in its name with a value of more than rupees 100, then it has to get itself registered. Now, rupees 100, as I told you, Registration Act 1908, 115 साल पुराना, 114 साल, 114 years. And like section 123 of the Transfer of Property 1882, 140 years old act. Then it becomes mandatory for them to get themselves registered if created as a trust. For example, in some states such as Maharashtra, Gujarat, where public trust acts have been passed, Bombay Public Trust Act, all charitable trusts have to be registered under these specific public trust acts. Right? So, registration invoked under the Income Tax Act and Foreign Contribution Regulation Act would also be invoked in many cases. Invoked means required by the law, by the government. It might become necessary under that particular act. The NGO might fall under certain provisions of those acts. So they might have to get themselves registered. They can be incorporated as a company under Section 8. You might have read about it in your law subject. And if incorporated as a Section 8 company, they'll have to maintain their books of account on accrual basis as required by Section 128. If the accounts are maintained on cash basis, it would amount to non-compliance because Section 8 companies, even if NGO, they'll have to follow the provisions of the law, Companies Act. However, the NGOs which are not registered under the Companies Act are allowed to maintain accounts either on accrual basis or cash basis as they require, as they feel comfortable, convenient. How do the NGOs work? The main sources of funds include grants and donations, fundraising programs. For example, I and my friends decided that let us arrange a Dandiya night during Navratri. And we are making all the arrangements. We'll be selling tickets. We'll be earning from advertisements in the pandal and stalls and all, etc. We'll be, selling tickets. So, kind of a fundraising program, a cultural night or something. It could be a fundraising program that you get involved with the local charitable school and exhibit the students' art and craft products, items which they have prepared, and sell it in the form in an exhibition, arrange and organize an exhibition for the same, a fundraising program. Like our actors and our theater artists do. Fundraising programs, advertisements, fees from the members, technical assistance fee for services rendered. Like I told you, we'll be going and teaching either dance or something else to the students or a particular group, a vacation camp, something like that. So donation and grants received in the nature of promoters when members contribute are in the nature of capital receipts and shown as liabilities in the balance sheet of an NGO. Promoters are usually the founders. They may be in the form of corpus contribution or a contribution towards revolving fund. What is a revolving fund basically? A revolving fund is something which one NGO gives to another NGO, further takes it back. So NGOs, when the funds revolve between NGOs for various purposes, their objects, it is called a revolving fund. Okay, so donors have to specify whether their donation or grant is to be given, is being given for the corpus of the NGO, the capital of the NGO, or if it carries some specific work, some objective. And someone can voluntarily also contribute with a specific direction that they shall form a part of the corpus or shall not be included in the general fund. If the NGO is registered as trust, you can get an exemption, ATG as well. Sometimes you give with the special direction that this particular fund, which I am donating, should be used for a specific work. Then if that fund is being given for a specific work, like I told you, construction of a library or a room for the school, for a particular school, that should be maintained as a separate fund on the liability side of the balance sheet, and it would not be treated as an income of the NGO unless and until it is a general grant given. Right. KBC example is also good. Cornbreaker Crorepati, people come there for the special guests come, they answer questions, they earn money, and they donate it to some organization. The objective of a contribution or grant towards a revolving fund is to rotate the amount by giving temporary loans from the fund to another NGO or beneficiaries for their projects, and then recover the loans so as to give temporary loans again, and so on. Any interest earned from the beneficiary on such temporary loans from the revolving fund could be either added back to the fund or credited to the income and expenditure account. Right? So it is basically what happens is I have 1 lakh rupees and I give it to my friend's NGO for using it on temporary basis for 1 month. I say I'll charge interest, and on 1 lakh rupees, for example, if going by the rate of 10%, right? Somewhere around 1,10,000. So I get somewhere 7,500, 8,000 interest. So it is my organization's, my NGO's wish. We will decide that we have to add it to the original amount of revolving fund and increase the amount of revolving fund to be given further as a loan, or we'll just keep the revolving fund amount the same as base 1 lakh and we'll credit the interest to our income and expenditure account. We'll treat it as income. This will depend upon the basis of decision taken in the NGO meeting, and exactly as per the authority, will account for the income from the revolving fund in our books. Donations received for specific purpose, we have discussed. Contribution is in kind. For example, many NGOs, they distribute clothes in the winter season to the needy. Everyone would come up, everyone would contribute clothes from their homes, which they don't use, and which could be of great use for the people who can't afford clothes, food, whatsoever. Contribution is not in the form of money, but in kind. Land, buildings, vehicles. Somebody might come up to the NGO and say, I'm really much impressed by the work you are doing for the society. This is my office over here at this place. I won't charge any rent. Please take up this office and do all your work from over here, whatever planning, organization, administration you want to do. मेरा ये रूम, मेरा ये ऑफिस ले लीजिए और आप यहाँ से कीजिए. मैं आपको ये ऑफिस यूज करने के लिए या परमानेंटली आपको डोनेट करना चाहता हूँ ये रूम. Simple. Where do they use these funds? They have their own running cost, office and expenses, maintenance expenses, different expenses of programs or projects they carry out, further giving charity, donations, and contributions. Example of NGOs are on your screens: CRY, UNICEF, Concern India Foundation, Vidya, etc. So auditor, usually by the management. If under society or trust, we have already done that. Under Section 8, if it is a Section 8 company, the NGO is registered as Section 8 company by the members of the company. Right? If it falls under the provisions of the Companies Act or FCRA or the Income Tax Act, then the accounts of the NGO have to be audited and submitted to the prescribed authorities. If not done, this could lead to forfeiture of certain exemptions. कुछ आपको जो benefits मिले हुए गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से वो छूट जाएंगे फिर. different states have certified different statutes, different laws have specified certain audit reports. For example, in Income Tax Act, as per the audit report and the income tax required by the due date as required for other forms of organization as well. FCRA has prescribed the format. If a particular NGO is registered under FCRA, बाहर से out of India आपको charity donations आ रही हैं, so you'll have to take registration. The format is prescribed, and the audit report has to be submitted to the Ministry of Home Affairs within 60 days from the close of financial year. That is by 30th May every year. The audit report under FCRA has to be submitted to Ministry of Home Affairs. प्रियंका, मेरे पास 1 लाख रुपया है और मैंने वो अपने दूसरी फ्रेंड है उसकी एनजीओ को दे दिया। उनके पास उनका एक प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा था पर उनके पास फंड्स नहीं थे। मेरी एनजीओ के पास 1 लाख रुपया सरप्लस था, मैंने उनको लोन दे दिया 1 लाख रुपए का। और जब उनके पास फंड्स आए, चैरिटी डोनेशन या मेंबर्स ने इकट्ठे किए, तो उन्होंने मेरे को 1 लाख रुपया वापस कर दिया और उसके ऊपर दे गेव मी 5,000 इंटरेस्ट। सो दैट इज अ रिवॉल्विंग फंड। अब जो 1 लाख रुपया मुझे वापस आया वो मैं किसी और एनजीओ को भी दे सकता हूँ। मैंने रिवॉल्विंग फंड अपनी बैलेंस शीट में लाइबिलिटी साइट पे रिवॉल्विंग फंड है, एक हेड वो बनाया हुआ है, जिसका रिवॉल्विंग फंड का ऑब्जेक्टिव यही होता है दैट दिस इज अ सरप्लस, विल बी रिवॉल्विंग इट एंड विल बी अर्निंग इंटरेस्ट। अब जो इंटरेस्ट आता है वो आपकी सोसाइटी, आपकी जो एनजीओ है उसकी मैनेजिंग बॉडी डिसाइड करेगी। जो 5,000 रुपया इंटरेस्ट आया उसको आपने 1 लाख में ऐड करके अब जो रिवॉल्विंग फंड है उसकी अमाउंट 1,05,000 कर देनी है आगे और फर्दर टेम्पररी लोन्स देने के लिए, नॉट फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड, 1 मंथ 15 डेज 7 डेज 10 डेज, राइट। या आपने वो 5,000 रुपया जो आपको इंटरेस्ट आया वो आप अपनी इनकम मान लेंगे एनजीओ की और रिवॉल्विंग फंड को 1 लाख ही रखेंगे। आई होप प्रियंका आई एम क्लियर नाउ। Audit planning, knowledge of NGO's work, its mission, vision, areas, what laws are applicable on the NGO, what is the constitution of the NGO, trust है, society है, section 8 company है, उसका सारा structure organization chart, who is the governing, who are the members of the governing body, what are the powers and duties of the members of the governing body, उनके minutes study करना, उनका accounting system, उनका working procedure study करना, उनकी reports देखना, अगर कुछ भी एक्सपर्ट्स की रिपोर्ट्स है या कुछ भी उनकी वर्किंग की रिपोर्ट्स है वो चेक करना, और पिछले साल की ऑडिट रिपोर्ट भी आपको देखना है। सो दीज आर द वर्क्स व्हिच फॉल अंडर ऑडिट प्लानिंग बाय द ऑडिटर। सो ऑडिट प्रोग्राम के लिए व्हाट डू यू नीड टू चेक? लेट अस कम फर्स्ट टू द बैलेंस शीट आइटम्स। ऑन द लायबिलिटी साइड वी हैव द कॉर्पस फंड, द कैपिटल। सो यू कैन चेक विद अ लेटर फ्रॉम द डोनर. If the donor who is donating the money to the NGO, if is given a letter that it can be, it should form a part of your capital, your corpus, right? So we'll directly add it to the capital. The capital of the NGO is known as the corpus. Yeah, I would, Anuradha, I would. Then reserves, quite simple. I've done it chapter 9. Earmarked funds. What are earmarked funds? Funds which have been specifically kept aside for a specific purpose. So we have to check that they are being used for the same purpose and inflow and outflow is being maintained as per the purpose. Project agency balances as per agreement with donors for each of the balances. For example, there is a particular project going on. What is the outflow from that particular fund and whether the expenditure is being maintained, being made as per the donor's requirement. Loans with agreements, whatever loans we have taken, to check with the receipts issued by the loan agreement and all. Quite simple. We've done it in chapter 9. Fixed assets, investments, cash in hand, bank balance, inventory. I'm not repeating it. We've done it in chapter 9 and many other places in this chapter as well. The assets, the income and expenditure items. Yes, these are important. The incomes, we'll come to the incomes first. So contributions and grants for projects and programs. Check the agreements with donors and grant letters to ensure that funds received have been accounted for. So if somebody has given 5 lakh rupees to the NGO, it has been properly accounted for in the books of account. And if you are receiving money from outside the country, it is being deposited and maintained as per the provisions of the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act in a separate bank account or in whatever form the government has laid out the law. You'll have to follow that accordingly as an NGO. Receipts from fundraising programs, there is a proper internal control system, and the person responsible for collection of funds and mode of receipt. Like you could see when even the NGOs organize any program, they give you a receipt against a ticket. And see, NGOs like charitable institutions, they work on cash basis mostly. So collections are properly accounted for and deposited in the bank daily basis. On daily basis. Why to keep cash with you? You have to deposit it on daily basis. Membership fees of the NGO is properly received and any arrears or advances are properly reconciled. If the NGO has maintained, NGO is coming out with some magazine or any subscription, any facility it is giving to its members, so the registers any any overdue payments or any advance payments towards that, they are being properly accounted for. You have to check the subscription register, like the Lines magazines, the Rotaract magazines. Reconcile subscription received with printing and dispatch of corresponding magazine, circulars, periodicals. Check the receipts with subscription rate schedule. Interest and dividends received and normal investments point. So expenses item. If there are program and project related expenses, verify agreement with donors supporting the particular program or project to ascertain the conditions with respect to undertaking of the program or project. A donor has given you a letter where it is stated that my funds which I am donating to you should be used for this particular purpose. The auditor has to check whether the same is being used for the said purpose or not, or it has been credited to the common fund. The auditor should take care of that. So, and accordingly, in the case of programs or projects involving contracts, you have to hire someone on contract basis, services, then income tax is deducted, deposited, and returns are filed and verify the terms of the contract. For example, I had to arrange catering service and I had to pay 3 lakh rupees to the caterer. So I fall under the income tax deduction eligibility requirement, and I'll have to deduct TDS. The auditor has to check that the laws, the provisions relating to income tax are also being complied with and returns are filed periodically. Establishment expenses related to the NGO's working body. So if they have employed people and if Provident Fund and other laws are applicable, so they are all charges are being deducted, contributed, and deposited with the prescribed authorities. And we have to check the postage, stationery, traveling, all these ledger scrutiny type expenses we have done in chapter 9, normal auditing of expenses. So this was with relating to an NGO, quite simple, just main points. Otherwise, all other points we have done in chapter 9. Some normal points and some specific points with respect to NGO. Right? Okay. So any doubt, or can we move to the last topic of the chapter, government audit? Great. So government audit. As per the UN Handbook on Government Auditing and Developing Countries, government audit is defined. So see, I have divided the definition into 8 parts. You don't have to write it in this manner in the examination. Okay. You have to write on a continuous basis. Government, whatever it is written in the red, that is for you to learn easily, but you have to write only the black part. Government audit is and not in points. You have to write it in one go. Government audit is the objective, systematic, professional, independent examination of financial, administrative, and other operations of a public entity made subsequently to their execution for the purpose of evaluating and verifying them, presenting a report containing explanatory comments on audit findings, together with conclusions and recommendations for future actions by the responsible officials, and in the case of examination of financial statements, expressing the appropriate professional opinion regarding the fairness of the presentation. So this was a big definition, broken it down into installments, into parts, and we'll learn it in 8 parts, right? Just for the sake of learning, divided it into 8 parts and given logic on what basis that particular part is. Like the first part says what it is, which operations, whose operations, when to conduct, why to conduct, how to conduct, by whom to be conducted, and special case. So government audit is basically objective. Objective means straight as it is, as per the rules. There is no professional, interpretation or justification involved. Systematic in its proper sequence. Professional, obviously conducted by a professionally eligible person, and independent. Independent means a person from outside the government bodies. Examination of what? Of financial related to money, administrative related to operations, and other operations of a public entity, an entity in which public is largely interested, when it is done, made subsequently to their execution, when financial decisions, administrative and other operations have been executed. After that, for the purpose of evaluating and verifying them. Evaluating means whether it has been done as per rational prudence, and verify done correctly. Presenting a report containing explanatory comments on audit findings together with conclusions and recommendations for future actions by responsible officials. So responsible officials of the government. And if there's a case of examination of financial statements, expressing the appropriate professional opinion regarding the fairness of the presentation, like a true and fair view. So this is what the definition of government audit is. This is an exam question. What are the objectives of government audit? We have to account for public funds, money received from the public in the form of taxes. Is it being utilized for the welfare of the public or not properly? Corruption. Appraisal of government policies. The auditor will apprise the government policies, government programs, and whether they are being administered properly or not. How much funds were set aside, how much grant was given by the government to its enterprises, and whether they are being used for the welfare of the public in that particular domain or not. ऊपर से 100 रुपया आ रहा है, क्या पब्लिक के पास जिनको रुपया मिलना चाहिए, उसका बेनिफिट मिलना चाहिए, उसकी वर्थ मिल रही है, या वो लास्ट तक जाता है तो उसको सिर्फ 10 रुपया ही मिल रहा है. Corrective actions. So if the auditor has suggested any corrective actions, or where there is lapse of power or factual data is not correct, so helping the government operations, public enterprises to improve their efficiency. And the main objective is to ensure accountability of administration to legislature and functioning as an aid to administration. You just help the government bodies to work properly. So in India, the function of government audit is discharged by the independent statutory authority of the Comptroller and Auditor, CAG, through the agency of the Indian Audit and Accounts Department. He is the head of this organization, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. In the discharge of his function, he watches that various authorities act in regard to financial matters in accordance with the constitutional power. Constitution, whatever constitution is laid down, and laws made by the parliament, and conform to the rules or orders made thereunder. Currently, our CAG is Shri Girish Chandra Murmu. So basically, we'll discuss about his appointment, his remuneration, his term, removal or resignation, other legal provisions, duties, and powers. This is all what is included in government audit, the Comptroller and Auditor General. So the President is the empowered authority to appoint the C&AG of India. The Parliament is the body which is competent to make laws to determine the salary and other conditions of service of the CAG. He shall be paid a salary which is equal to the salary of the judge of the Supreme Court. His term is 6 years or up to the age of 65 years, whichever is less or whichever comes first. For example, a person is appointed as CAG at the age of 62. So either he completes his 6 years first or he attains the age of 65, he'll have to retire. Now, he'll not be able to complete 6 years because after 3 years, he'll attain the age of 65 and he'll have to retire. A person is appointed as the CAG at the age of 58. So he'll be 65 after 7 years, but before that, after completion of 6 years, 64, he'll retire because he has completed 6 years. So whatever comes first, he'll have to retire. He shall not be removed. You have read about removal or resignation in the company audit chapter. He shall not be removed from office except on the ground of proven misbehavior or incapacity. That is misbehaved or is incapable. It can be he or she. Currently, it is he. He can be removed only when each House of Parliament, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, decide to do so by a majority of not less than 2/3 of the members of the House present and voting. Present and voting matters. So at least 2/3 of the members present in Lok Sabha during the procession of Lok Sabha and 2/3 in Rajya Sabha as well. Each House of the Parliament has to vote to remove the CAG. At least 2/3 of the people, of the members present and voting. This was about removal. Now, if he himself wants to resign, he can resign anytime through his resignation letter addressed to the President of India because he was appointed by the President. So he'll have to submit his resignation to the appointing authority. There are some constitutional provisions. Article 149 of the Constitution states that he shall perform such duties and exercise such powers in relation to the accounts of the union and of the states. The union is the central government and states is a state government. Local bodies we have already done, right? Local bodies audit we have already covered. What was left? Audit of the state level and at the central level. So CAG is the appropriate person. Now he'll not be going to each state and each department of the center to conduct that audit. He'll be appointing persons for that purpose. And any other authority or body as may be prescribed under any law made by the Parliament. The law made for this purpose is the Comptroller and Auditor General's Duties, Powers and Condition of Service Act 1971. This act contains the functions and powers of the CAG. Article 150 क्या कहता है? That Constitution, that accounts of the Union and of the states shall be kept in such form as the President may on the advice of the C&AG prescribed. C&AG President को advise करेगा to ask these unions and state government bodies to maintain the accounts and prepare the accounts in such a form as CAG would advise the President. The President would come out with an order. Article 151 requires, this article is of the Constitution, reports of the CAG relating to accounts of the Union States shall be submitted by the President or the Governor who shall cause them to be laid before each House of the Parliament state legislature. So in the case of central government, it is the Parliament which makes laws. And in the case of state government, it is the Legislative Assembly. In the case of central government, it is the President who is the head. In the case of states, it is the Governor of the state who is the head. So the CAG shall submit the reports to the respective person. If it is a report related to central or central government bodies, it will be submitted to the president. If it is a report related to states and their bodies, it will be submitted to the governor. Further, president shall cause them to be laid before each house of parliament, right? लोकसभा राज्यसभा में वो रखा जाएगा जैसे आपके लॉज रखे जाते हैं. एंड इन द केस ऑफ स्टेट्स, विधानसभा, लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली, स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर, वहां पर गवर्नर के द्वारा ये रिपोर्ट्स रखी जाएंगी टू डिस्कस. ड्यूटीज क्या है? कंट्रोलर एंड ऑडिटर जनरल का जो एक्ट है उसमें बताया गया भी पावर्स और ड्यूटीज दी गई है सीएजी को. तो उस एक्ट के अंदर उसके सेक्शन हमें कौन सी ड्यूटीज के बारे में बताते हैं सीएनडीजी की. वी शैल डिस्कस दैट. कंपाइल एंड सबमिट अकाउंट्स ऑफ यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स. सो यूनियन के सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का वर्किंग, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का जो अकाउंट्स हैं वेरियस डिपार्टमेंट्स एंड फर्दर देयर कंसोलिडेशन, और स्टेट्स के, तो ये इनका डिपार्टमेंट सीएजी की बॉडी ये सब काम करेगी. स्टेट्स के केस में दे विल एडवाइज द प्रेसिडेंट, सीएजी विल एडवाइज द प्रेसिडेंट, द गवर्नर. एंड इन द केस ऑफ सेंटर, एडवाइज द प्रेसिडेंट. भी इनको कहा जाए किस तरीके से इनको अपने अकाउंट्स प्रिपेयर करने हैं, क्या क्या चीजें इनके ऑफिस को चाहिए, सीएनडीजी के ऑफिस को, ताकि वो चेक कर सकें और जो भी उनकी फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स तैयार करनी है जिस फॉर्मेट में वो तैयार की जा सके, राइट. प्रॉपर हेड्स बनाए जा सकें और एक्सपेंसेस के, इनकम के, एसेट्स के, लायबिलिटीज के, और बनाकर उन अकाउंट्स को सीएजी प्रेसिडेंट को और गवर्नर को और यूनियन टेरिटरी केस में होता है एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर ऑफ यूनियन टेरिटरी. स्टेट्स के केस में गवर्नर होते हैं, ऑनरेबल गवर्नर. हमारे केस में जो सेंट्रल के केस में ऑनरेबल प्रेसिडेंट, और यूटी के केस में द एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर, राइट. हैविंग अ लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली, जिस यूटी की अपनी लेजिस्लेटिव असेंबली है, लाइक दिल्ली, it has its own legislative assembly, separate autonomous functional body. So in that case, the administrator, which is usually the LG. So they should be the accounts should be submitted to these appropriate persons, and he shall lend all the help to these particular departments, specific departments, in compiling and maintaining accounts. Whatever information or advice they require, the office of the CAG will help them in all such cases in the preparation of annual financial statements. And regarding to audit, the CAG shall have duties to check on the money utilization with respect to various schemes and programs of the government, central and state, and how are the funds being maintained, funds relating to contingency and various other funds are being maintained as per the guidelines. And basically there are government departments who have their commercial business, so audit and report on all trading, manufacturing and profit and loss accounts and balance sheets and other subsidiary accounts kept in any department of the union or a state. For example, railways, for example, your hydropower projects, thermal projects operated by the government. Audit of receipts and expenditures. So where any body or authority is substantially financed by the grants or loans from the consolidated fund of India or state or union territory having a legislative assembly, CAG shall audit all receipts and expenditure of that body or authority and shall give his report. Expenditure and receipts audit कैसे होता है, you know. Consolidated fund of India क्या है? Consolidated fund of India जहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट का सारा पैसा जाता है, सेंटर का अलग, स्टेट का अलग, यूनियन टेरिटरी का अलग. Substantially financed, वो बोल रहे हैं any body or authority, any governmental body or authority जो गवर्नमेंट की ग्रांट से, right, substantially financed. Substantially financed means उसका जो टोटल पैसा है एक साल में, right, where the grant or loan to a body or authority from the consolidated fund of India or any state or union territory in a financial year is not less than rupees 25 lakhs, and the amount of such grant or loan is not less than 75% of total expenditure of that body. फर्स्ट कंडीशन इज 25 लाख या उससे ज्यादा होना चाहिए जो ग्रांट मिली है. सेकंड इज जितना एक्सपेंडिचर उस बॉडी ने, दिस बॉडी और अथॉरिटी जिसको सब्सटेंशियली ग्रांट्स मिल रही हैं, टोटल एक्सपेंडिचर उस बॉडी अथॉरिटी ने किया उसका 75%, 75% या उससे ज्यादा इसी ग्रांट से किया गया हो. दैट मीन्स उनका एक्सपेंडिचर मोर देन 75 और मोर देन 75% ऑफ द एक्सपेंडिचर was dependent and met from this grant, then that particular body or authority would be known as substantially financed by the grants or loans from the Consolidated Fund of India. For example, they have expended 10 lakhs in the previous year, 22-23. So, 1 crore. Okay. The government grant received was 20 lakhs. तो पहले ही वो आउट हो गया सब्सटेंशियली फाइनेंस में से बिकॉज इट वाज लेस देन 25 lakhs. In case the government grant received was somewhere around 30 lakhs. Okay. Then again, because they have spent 1 crore and the grant received is 30 lakhs, less than 75%. For example, the total expenditure was 30 lakhs during that year of this particular body, and 25 lakhs was received by the government. So what is 25 of 30? More than 75%. In that case, it is substantially financed. Audit of receipts or union state. So what does it say? Consolidated fund. As per Article 266 of the Constitution, the Consolidated Fund of India consists of all the revenue received from direct and indirect taxes, all the loans taken by the Government of India, and all the amount of repayment of loans received by the Government of India. So government को जो direct और indirect taxes से जो कमाई हो रही है, government ने जो लोन लिए हैं देश के बैंकों से, वर्ल्ड बैंक से, व्हाटसोएवर बी द केस, और जो गवर्नमेंट ने फर्दर लोन दिए हुए हैं अलग अलग नेशंस को, अलग अलग बॉडीज को, वहां से जो रीपेमेंट आ रही है, दैट वुड बी कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया. सो द ऑडिटर हैज टू ऑडिट द ग्रांट्स और लोन्स एज वेल. अगर कंसोलिडेटेड फंड ऑफ इंडिया से किसी पर्टिकुलर गवर्नमेंट डिपार्टमेंट्स को, सेंटर या स्टेट को कोई ग्रांट या डोनेशन जा रही है एंड वो कोई फॉरेन स्टेट इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से नहीं आ रही है, तो सीएजी शेल स्क्रूटिनाइज दैट प्रोसीजर्स प्रॉपरली फॉलो हुए हैं. गवर्नमेंट के कंसोलिडेटेड फंड से जो ग्रांट दी गई है वो आफ्टर प्रॉपर सैंक्शन एंड ऑथोराइज्ड पर्सन के द्वारा, ऑथोराइज्ड ऑफिशियल के द्वारा दी गई है. एंड सीएजी को इसके लिए हर तरह के डॉक्यूमेंट, बुक्स को एक्सेस होगा. सीएजी एक रीजनेबल टाइम का नोटिस दे सकता है उन गवर्नमेंटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस को और बॉडीज को दैट आई वांट टू चेक दीज बुक्स, अकाउंट्स एंड डॉक्यूमेंट्स टू चेक whether grants or loans were received by following a proper procedure and are being met for the same purpose. Audit of stores and inventories of various government departments is quite common where there are manufacturing organizations, trading concerns, so normal stock audits. Audit of government companies and corporations. So the duties and powers of the CAG in relation to the audit of accounts of government companies shall be performed and exercised by him in accordance with the provisions of Companies Act. So government companies, they also have to get registered under Companies Act. CAG shall appoint the auditor under subsection 5 or subsection 7 of section 139. Section 139 is appointment of auditor in case of a company. Subsection 5 is appointment of first auditor and 7 is appointment of subsequent auditor. And direct such auditor in the manner in which the audit of the government company will be carried out. He'll direct, he'll ask for the action taken thereon, and he'll take the action, whatever required, and will check what impact it has on the accounts and financial statements of that government company. Now, we have read that C and AG shall conduct the audit of the receipts, the expenditure of government organizations at the central level, state level. So what basically expenditure audit is? The expenditure audit is the most important component of government audit. Auditor has to check जो ऑडिटर है, जो एक्सपेंडिचर किया जा रहा है उसके अगेंस्ट, और जो एक्सपेंडिचर किया जा रहा है वो प्रॉपर लॉ के प्रोविजंस के अकॉर्डिंग किया जा रहा है. इट इज एज पर विद द फाइनेंशियल रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस फ्रेम्ड बाय द कॉम्पिटेंट अथॉरिटी. जब हम उसके रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस के, रूल्स एंड ऑर्डर्स के अकॉर्डिंग देखते हैं भी जो एक्सपेंडिचर है वो लॉ के अकॉर्डिंग किया जा रहा है. इट इज नॉट बीइंग the expenditure is not being made out of the law or order, then it is called audit against rules and orders. It is one of the parts of expenditure audit. We have 5 parts. Expenditure के ऊपर audit against rules and orders, audit of sanctions, audit against provision of funds, propriety audit, performance audit. Let us take an example. We have ordered, CNG has ordered that, for example, let us check. We have to check the expenditure made by a particular department of the organization for of the state for distributing free ration or meals to the public during the times of COVID-19. So first, audit again rules and orders. What would be checked? It would be checked that the particular expenditure was made as per the provisions of any law, any orders given by the competent authority, and any rules made by either the central government, state government, whatever the case be. The second step would be audit of sanctions. Whatever amount was being sanctioned as an expenditure to be made, that expenditure audit, either special or general, such an audit is called as audit of sanctions, that it has been sanctioned by the proper authority and within the decided limits. No, Radha, not compromised. Audit against provision of funds, that if a provision of funds is being maintained for that particular expenditure, same has been authorized by competent authority and the expenditure is made out of that provision only within the limits of that provision, that is known as audit against provisions of funds. Propriety audit. What is propriety audit? Basically, whatever expenditure is being made, it is being made as if it was that particular government official or office or department's own funds, by the same rationally, using the same wisdom. If it was the involved person's own money. So proprietary audit basically aims at checking that wasteful expenditure is avoided. Performance audit is for whatever purpose that expenditure was made, it is yielding results. Various programs, schemes, and projects where large financial expenditure has been incurred being run economically. As I gave you the example of Apni Rasoi, where food is provided at very economical rates, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 20 rupees, they are yielding quite results. Such an audit is termed as the performance audit. In the slides to come, we have taken every part of this expenditure audit briefly. You can read them. It will be there in the notes as well as it is there in the study material. Okay. Audit against rules and orders. We have discussed this in brief. In detail, it is over here. Expenditure audit. Audit of sanctions. Audit against provision of funds. Propriety audit. And performance audit. Performance audit, we have, the difference between efficiency, effectiveness. It is also known as full scope audit. Efficiency audit looks into whether the work being done by the government organizations, is it efficient, right? Less cost, less time, Economy audit is within there is no wasteful expenditure on financial or human part. It is yielding proper results, that is effectiveness audit. Right? And efficiency cum performance audit includes both every part of this performance audit. Efficiency cum performance audit is an objective examination of the financial and operational performance of an organization, program, authority, or function, and is oriented towards identifying opportunities for greater economy and effectiveness. This was expenditure audit and its 5 legs. Audit of receipts. It is quite simple. We have done it in chapter 9, similar way. All revenues or debts due to government have been correctly assessed, realized, and credited to government account by the designated authorities, like you deposit taxes in banks, like online payments, GST, income tax, the embassy fees and all. Whether adequate regulations and procedures have been framed by the department to secure an effective check on assessment, collection, and proper allocation of cases. Take the example of income tax and GST. Proper faceless assessment. Faceless assessment, right? Whether such regulations and procedures are actually being carried out. Adequate checks are imposed to ensure prompt detection and investigation of irregularities, corruptions, for example, double refunds given to the assesses or forged refund vouchers, wherever there is loss of revenue through fraud or any error. It should be like found in the audit of receipts. Reviewing their internal control systems, procedures, the steps relating to issuing notices to the assessors, demanding penalties and late fees and interest or any shortfall in taxes, whatever it is, the CAG has full access to their documents and it has to audit so as there is no loss to the government or to the consolidated fund. Audit of stores and inventories, simple stock audit like you have done in chapter 9, audit of inventories and all. There should be propriety, the stores and inventories, proper records should be maintained, inflow, outflow, required stores and inventories should be purchased. There should be no wasteful expenditure, proper reports, periodical reports be carried out, be maintained. And physical verification can be carried out by the office of CAG. Valuation is properly made with respect to stores and inventories. That's it. Audit of stores and inventories. 6 points. You can read on your own. Okay. Audit of commercial accounts. Commercial where government is involved in business. Public enterprises where government holds its stake. 3 categories. Departmental enterprises engaged in commercial and trading operations, which are subject to same laws, financial and other regulations as other government departments and agencies. For example, transport department, aviation department, flights, buses, railways has not been privatized. So the audit of departmental concerns is undertaken in the same manner as any department of government where commercial accounts are kept. Simple, as you can carry out the audit of any transport related organization, company, or any other commercial organization in the market, will have to carry out the audit of such departmental enterprise in the same manner. Statutory bodies and corporations like LIC, post office, banks, government banks. So they are created under specific statutes and mostly financed by government in the form of loans, grants. And their audit provisions are come under the act under which they have been established. Somebody asked for ICI. Yes. Both financial accounts audit are conducted by the CAG, and where compilation of accounts is vested with the CAG, functions, normal standards of work usually followed by the professional auditors are adopted mutatis mutandis. Means mutatis mutandis, what does this mean? That if the accounts are being maintained at the level of these bodies and corporations, CAG will conduct the audit like an auditor. But if in case of any statutory body and corporation, CAG office itself performing the functions of compilation of accounts, even then the provisions of the auditor would by the professional auditor would apply mutatis mutandis. Whatever a professional auditor, in whatsoever manner audit will be carried out by a professional auditor, all the provisions apply in the same way. Government companies, we have done about it in your Companies Act audit chapter. Same way, government companies set up under the Companies Act. General powers of the CAG, quite common. Inspect any office of accounts under the control of union or state government, including offices responsible for creation of initial or subsidiary accounts, initial accounts. Mutandis means as it is. As apply in any other case will apply here as well. Transactional audits, and he can ask questions or make such observations as he may consider necessary to the person in charge of that particular government office and call for any such information which he requires. In carrying out the audit, he has the power to dispense with any part of the detailed audit of any accounts or class of transaction, and he can apply limited checks. You can use sampling, limited checks and need not required. Detailed audit is not required. In any such case, these are the general powers of the CAG. Now, the specific powers, these are quite important and you will have to read with me. The last part of today's session, very important part in government audit. Please be with me. I'll read it word by word. Specific powers of the CAG of India. Section 143, subsection 5, it states that in the case of a government company or any other company owned or controlled directly or indirectly by the central government or by the state government or both the governments, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India shall appoint the auditor under section 5 or subsection 5 or section 139. First or subsequent auditor, right? So this was the case of government company. Direct such auditor how to audit the accounts, submit a copy of the audit report to CAG as per his instructions, and CAG will take the action as desired and it will consider the impact on the accounts and financial statements of the company, right? This section 143(5) is with respect to the act. कौन सा act? जो अभी हमने पीछे पढ़ा है, the duties and powers of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India. This is not of Companies Act. Companies Act का ये रहा. Specific powers. The next power is section 143, subsection 6. What is that? A supplementary audit. We had special audit in the case of cooperative societies. There is a supplementary audit. The CAG of India shall within 60 days from the date of receipt of the audit report. So 143(5) is audit report. Over here, 143(6) is next step. Conduct a supplementary audit under section 143, subsection 6, clause A, of the financial statement of the company by such person or persons as he may authorize in his behalf, and for purpose of such audit require information or additional information to be submitted to such person or persons as authorized as he may direct. So another audit, further an additional audit, a supplementary audit within 60 days of the receipt of the audit report as under section 143, subsection 5. Further, after getting a supplementary audit conducted, he may comment upon or supplement such audit report under section 143, subsection B. He will give his comments on that supplementary audit, or he will make the report of supplementary audit with the main audit report as under section 143 subsection 5, right? So he may give any comments to the audit report. These comments or audit report of supplementary audit shall be sent by the government company to every person entitled to copies of audited financial statements under section 136 of the Companies Act. Every member of the company, every trustee of the company, trustee of debenture holder, and to all other persons as such may member of trustee being the persons who entitled, so stakeholders basically. Further, this report shall also be placed before the annual general meeting of the company at the same time and the same manner as the audit report, normal audit report is being placed, the supplementary audit report, or the comments given by the CAG on the basis of supplementary audit. So 143 subsection 5 audit, the main audit, 143 subsection 6, the supplementary audit. The last one is 143 subsection 7, test audit. Without prejudice to the provisions relating to audit and auditor, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India may, in case of any company covered under subsection 5 or subsection 7 of 139, the companies covered under this section, if the CAG considers necessary by an order, cost test audit, like you have an annual exam, semester exam, and surprise test or simple test in schools or colleges. Similarly, a test audit be conducted on the accounts of such company, and the provisions of section 19A of the Act shall apply to report of such test audit. Now, just a glimpse of test audit and not in detail. What does section 19A say? What would be the form? What would be the period? Not covered. Just a knowledge of the test audit that yes, the CAG has the power under section 147 to get this test audit conducted. Right? Yes, Mr. Aslam. Annual report includes audit report as well. So this finishes your chapter number 13. This finishes your subject of audit. With the finish of chapter number 13, we'll upload the notes by tomorrow. So you'll have them with you while studying and revising this chapter. Whatever is mentioned in the notes to refer from StudyMat, please refer StudyMat for the same, because whatever is there in StudyMat, it is been given beautifully in the form of points, can be learned directly, read and learned directly from there. If you face any question in the exam from those topics, you have to write the answers as it is. Right? Any other questions you may come up with? I'm here to answer them. Alok, there are practice questions. I'll be annexing them with the notes itself. MCQs, correct, incorrect, and descriptive questions. So I'll be making them a part of your notes, which I'll be uploading. अरे धन्यनेश धन्यनेश ये काफी पहले से है क्या तुम ऑडिट छोड़ के तुम उधर क्यों भाग रहे हो मिस्टर इंग्ले देयर इज नो रिलेशन नो लिंक डोंट गो अदर वे अराउंड My pleasure, Pranav. Some tips for audit paper. Please make a vocabulary of audit. this supplementary audit, test audit, general powers, specific powers, professional independence, skepticism. एक कॉपी लगा लीजिए या आप एक फाइल लगा लीजिए जिसमें आप ऑडिट की जितनी वोकैबुलरी है वो लिखिए, वर्ड्स ना, ताकि आप जनरल वर्ड्स ना यूज करें अपने एग्जाम में। पहली बात तो ये, जितना आप ज्यादा ऑडिट रिलेटेड, अकाउंट्स रिलेटेड वर्ड्स यूज करेंगे उतना ज्यादा आपका आंसर स्ट्रांग बनेगा। सेकंड इज स्पेसिफिक आंसर्स लिखिए, जनरल आंसर्स मत लिखिए। ऐसी कोई भी लैंग्वेज या आंसर्स मत लिखिए जो हर क्वेश्चन में काम आए। नो, आपको एक स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन पूछा जा रहा है, उसका स्पेसिफिक आंसर ही दीजिए। गिव योर बेस्ट एंड different points as an answer. For example, if it is a 4 marks question, you have 6 points for that question, that want to write 6 points for it, and you have to write any 4 points. Write 4 points which are the best points and different from each other. ओके, अगर आपको 6 पॉइंट्स किसी आंसर में लिखनी है, 6 स्टेप्स लिखनी है, आपके पास चॉइस है, आपके पास 8 पॉइंट्स और आपको 6 लिखनी है, 4 लिखनी है, तो ऐसे पॉइंट्स लिख लिए जो एक दूसरे से डिफरेंट हो और स्ट्रॉन्ग पॉइंट्स हो, और स्पेसिफिकली आंसर्स लिखिए, राइट। लेंथ डजंट मैटर, व्हाट मैटर्स इज व्हाट इज द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन, यू हैव टू राइट दैट प्रॉपरली। कटिंग कम से कम कीजिए, पर कटिंग एग्जाम में हो जाती है तो उसको क्लीन कटिंग कीजिए, एक लाइन से या समथिंग, एक क्रॉस से। डोंट ओवर राइट और ओवर कट योर आंसर। जब आप ऑडिट एग्जाम के टाइम पे रिवाइज करेंगे तो ट्राई कीजिए आप पहले 4 चैप्टर्स सीक्वेंस में करें, उसके बाद के चैप्टर्स आप आगे पीछे कर सकते हैं, राइट। छोटे छोटे कॉम्बिनेशंस बनाइए, इंस्टॉलमेंट्स में कीजिए, और रिवीजन के टाइम ये जो आप वोकैबुलरी बनाएंगे अपने ऑडिट के वर्ड्स की, ये साथ में रखें, एग्जाम वाले दिन जरूर पढ़ के जाएं। और जितनी हो सके मैक्सिमम वैरायटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस कीजिए, स्टडी मटेरियल में से, नोट्स में से, आरटीपीज में, एमटीपीज में, जितने वैरायटी ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, केस सिनेरियोज हैं आपके पास, इंस्टीट्यूट पे बहुत कुछ पढ़ा है। एंड एक फाइल जरूर देखिए, इंस्टीट्यूट की वेबसाइट पे आपको सब्जेक्ट के अंदर मिलेगी, समरी ऑफ एग्जामिनर कमेंट्स। समरी ऑफ एग्जामिनर कमेंट्स के नाम से एक फाइल पड़ी है वहां पे, जिसमें पिछले अटेम्प्ट के क्वेश्चंस, आपके एग्जामिनेशंस की इवेल्यूशन है बाय एग्जामिनर्स, जिन्होंने चेक किए हैं आपके एग्जाम्स, उन्होंने अपने कमेंट्स दिए हुए हैं। इस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन में उन्होंने क्या पूछा था, स्टूडेंट्स ने क्या आंसर किया, उनको क्या आंसर करना चाहिए था, मेजोरिटी स्टूडेंट्स क्या गलती करते हैं, या कुछ स्टूडेंट्स से गलती की तो क्या की, कुछ स्टूडेंट से बहुत अच्छा लिखा तो क्या अच्छा लिखा, वो फाइल वहां पे है। और आपको जरूर एक बार किसी एक अटेम्प्ट, वहां पे 3-4 अटेम्प्ट की फाइल पढ़ी है, आप किसी एक अटेम्प्ट की भी फाइल पढ़ने का टाइम निकाल सके तो जरूर पढ़िए, कीपिंग दैट क्वेश्चन पेपर विद यू, सो दैट आपको पता चले आप 3 घंटे के उस प्रेशर वाले एनवायरनमेंट में, स्ट्रेस के अंदर आके क्या गलती कर सकते हैं। अगर आपने पहले से पढ़ रखा होगा तो आप वो गलती वहां पे दोबारा नहीं करेंगे। और आपको क्वेश्चंस के आंसर्स को लेके क्या क्या चीजें ध्यान में रखनी चाहिए एग्जामिनर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से। अगर आप एग्जामिनर का पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू समझते हैं तो आप अपना पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बहुत अच्छे से समझा पाएंगे और प्रॉपरली आंसर लिख पाएंगे, राइट। तो वो फाइल जरूर पढ़िएगा, समरी ऑफ एग्जामिनर कमेंट्स ऑन परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ द कैंडिडेट्स। ओके, प्रोफेशनल वोकैबुलरी जरूर कीजिएगा, और जितना हो सके रेफरेंस दीजिए आपके अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स का, आपके एक्ट्स का, आपके सेक्शंस का, ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स का। याद हो तो जरूर लिखें, गलत मत लिखें, गलत सेक्शन मत कोड कीजिए, गलत ए से गलत एस से मत कोड कीजिए। जितना हो सके ये आपकी ग्रामर है, जैसे इंग्लिश में ग्रामर होती थी ना, ऐसे ये आपकी ग्रामर है, ग्राउंड आपका अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स, सेक्शंस, लॉज, इनको रेफरेंस दीजिए जितना हो सके। Right? Okay, people are wishing Happy New Year in advance. Happy New Year to you too, and all the best for your exams as well. And make sure that you study and prepare well. Yeah, written practice, I would suggest. If you can do written practice for theory exam, that would be really good. Just evaluate yourself with the help of RTPs and MTPs. Sharon, I asked all of them to refer a file on the institute's website. This is a file by the name of Summary of Examiner Comments on the Performance of the Candidates. This is a file where examiners, while checking your exams, previous attempt students have come up with, have narrated in detail what were the mistakes committed by the examinees, what did they expect of them, and what should they write in the exam pertaining to different questions. This file will help you to prepare for your performance, good performance in the exams. What kind of mistakes can you commit in those 3 hours of stress while answering in the examination situation? If you read that file of any of the previous attempts along with the question paper simultaneously, what are the examiner's expectations and all, it will help you to prepare for your attempt in a positive manner, and you'll be able to avoid all those possible mistakes which you might commit during those the pressure situation of those 3 hours. I hope, Sharon, I'm clear. And I've suggested them to practice as much as they can. Apart from study material, you have case scenarios, and you have RTPs, MTPs, suggested answers, and you have those super summaries on the institute's website available, a host of resources available on the institute's website to practice. Am I clear, Sharon? Is that fine, or you want to know something else as well? Mr. Sharan Krishnan? Anuradha, how to write essay type questions? There are no essay type questions in auditing CA exam. Nothing sort of essay type questions. Either case based questions or point questions. That is it. Happy New Year, Danesh, in advance. हाँ मोहम्मद, मुझे एक बार में तुम्हारा कमेंट मिल रहा है. तुम 5 times for the 5 times 5 बार लिख रहे हो कमेंट को. All the best for your spirit, Mr. Muhammad Aslam. I wish you achieve what you are telling me from the query link. Okay, Mr. Krishnan, do you want to know something else? Oh, great. Okay, then we'll wind up, and I hope you'll prepare well for your exams, whatever tips you'll have been getting from all the faculties. And I wish all the best for your preparations, guys. Take care and do well. Great. Good night.